Hey everybody, we're back for our second installment of our nickel hunt and album fill. But this time, we just upped our game. Hey everybody, it's James here and you're watching my channel, Cadroll Hunter. That's right, we've got another box of nickels to hunt. And you'll remember in our last episode, we started filling this nickel album that I had purchased with a coin collection. And I filled the spots. We got 4 spots filled up, but you'll see that they're actually empty now. And that is because, well, we decided we were going to upgrade the album. And this is what we've got. This is the Lighthouse Vista 5-cent album collection. This is the Cadillac of coin collection albums for Canadian coins. And so I've transferred the coins that we got last time into this album. Now, a few things to note. This includes the early Canada 5-cent variety, the silver coins. These were much smaller than our current 5-cent coins. And so these pages are not really going to help us, those first two, because we can't find any of those whatsoever in our hunts. So I'm probably going to remove those pages from here for now, and we'll start at 1922. That's where this Whitman album that we got started. And so, of course, we are going to find it very difficult to find any of those King George V nickels, but I'm holding out hope that we will find some. I've added our finds from our last hunt. There's that 1942 King George VI that we got. We got lots of space in here to upgrade the collection. And on this page, you'll see we got the 59 and 60. And I went back in because this album goes beyond 1960. And I added some of the nicer coins that we got, including that brilliant, if we can focus in on it, 1971. We got a really nice 1968, that centennial as well. And you'll remember that we also got 4 of those low mintage 2000 Ps. I took the best one out of there, but we don't have any of the other ones. I didn't hold them aside because the album didn't have spots. So what we're going to do today, this is kind of like a bit of a redo. We're going to go through this box of nickels. We're going to pick out all of the best varieties to add to the album. This will go right to date. The printed pages go up to 2015, but we have space to go right up here to 2021. We can add more pages if need be, as if we find we need to. So this is going to be great. I'm not going to bring you in for every single find that's going to fill some of these common spots. I'll bring you back in when we find something really great. Certainly anything odd, foreigns, anything old. Certainly a laureate portrait or a King George. But at the end of the album, or at the end of this video, we'll fill all the slots in the album that we can and see where we end up. Okay, let's get cracking. Well, that was a quick start. We're in roll number 1, coin number 2, and we've got a US nickel. It's a 1974, and this one is from Philadelphia. Same roll. We have a 2017 DUS. We'll add that to our list of finds, and I'll just show you what I'm doing here. I've kind of laid these out in rows, 70s, 80s, 90s, the zeros and the teens, and just putting in the best version of that year that I find. And as I go through, if I find something that I think is just like a clear winner, I can sort of stop that year. But for now, if I'm not sure, I'll put it on the pile. At some point, I'll go through and I'll see if we have something that's really good enough. I'll stop for that year, just so that we make sure that we're filling all the spots in the album. We've got a lot of coins to go through, so I'm pretty confident we'll find some really good versions of these. Certainly for the teens and the decade before that. Once we get to the 90s and 80s, it gets a little tougher, but we'll see what we can do. Roll number 5, we found ourselves a 1990, so we can throw that one under the scope and take a look here and see if we've got the bare belly, which we do not. But we can put it in here. I hadn't found a 1990 yet, so we'll be sure to actually have one for the album. Maybe we'll find one in better condition. We'll find out. Just pulled out another 1977. We've already got one. This isn't in great shape at all, but it is the low 7 variety. We've already got the high 7, so we know we'll at least have one of each before this hunt is through, and we might find others that are in better condition. We want to find a real gem for the album, but we've got one anyway to round out the collection. We just finished up roll 11. We got this pretty nice 1969. So far, no laureate portrait. So far, no King George VI, but we still got a lot of coins to go through. Roll number 15, I've just pulled up a 1980, which we can check for that doubled date. And you can see really clearly there is no doubling whatsoever. We found a few 1980s. They're over in this stack. None of them have the doubling. But again, we're sort of filling out pretty well what we'd expect to find in the later years. Probably in the next little bit, I'll go through and actually add, there are some really pristine examples of the last 20 years of coins. I can at least add those. I think we'll just continue to separate out the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s in the rows up there and wait till the end and then just add the absolute best of the best to the album. I think we're still going to want upgrades and future hunts for those years, just like that 1971 we found last time was just fantastic. I think there's a better version of most of these out there. Same row, and we got a 1966 to add, so we're definitely going to have something for all of the later 60s years. Of course, we definitely want to see if we can find better examples. Same roll, and we got us a 2021, so it looks like we're going to have everything right up to date in this album, which is fantastic. Roll number 16, we got ourselves another American nickel. It's a newer one. It is the 2012 D. Roll number 17, I just flattened these down and I saw I had a 1990. We can check for the bare belly, but as I moved it, we have a laureate portrait that looks to be in pretty good shape. So let's see what we got. It is a 1963. I put that 1990 under the scope and we can take a peek at it, and that is just the standard beaver. We got a 1996 under the scope, and this is very definitely the far 6. The 6 is pretty far away from the D. We've found a couple of other 96s so far, and I haven't looked too closely, so hopefully by the end of today we'll have a near 6 and a far 6, and maybe even in even better condition than this one. Roll number 19, and we have found our 5th American nickel of the hunt. Pretty worse for wear here. We'll have to flip it over to see, and it's a 1984 P. Roll number 23, and we're going to have something older here. I didn't see it immediately by the edge, so I'll just go back a few coins, and there is a laureate portrait, Queen Elizabeth, and it's a 1962. All right, we're halfway through that box, and just wanted to give you a little bit of a status update. So far, here's what the board is looking like. We've got lots of great stuff to choose from. We've pretty much got everything from the mid-60s on. The only ones we don't have are the key date 1970. That's low mintage, it's just over 5 million. And the other semi-key date, which is the 1991, minted just over 10 million. Otherwise, for everything in the teens and the 2000s, we'll have a excellent example for each of those. For the 90s, 80s, and 70s, you can see for many years we've got several examples we can choose from. Some of them are pretty nice, some of them are not so nice, so we'll be looking for upgrades in future hunts. And we've got a collection of ones over in the 60s, including that 62. Oh, of course, we've got our stack of US nickels as well. So I think we're well on our way. I think by the end of this hunt, we're going to have a pretty good album, definitely in the recent years. And hopefully we'll find a few little gems in here so we get something in the 60s, 70s, or 80s that looks really nice. Roll number 29, very last coin of the roll, and we got ourselves another find. It's our second 1963 laureate portrait. Roll number 30, and the first coin of the roll is actually a really nice 1995. And this is really what we were hoping we would find, is some really good examples of some of those 80s and 90s that are typically pretty circulated. So this is one for the album for sure. We're in roll number 33, and we're going to have a couple of finds here because I can see a dime in there. We'll look at that, and I can see a 12-sided nickel right here. So we got something for the board. All right, well, here is our dime. It's a shiny new 2020. So we'll add that over here to our board. And we'll just take a look in here because I can see that 12-sided nickel right here. And it is a 1960 laureate portrait. We already have that in the album, but it's always good to add another 1960 to our board. Roll number 36, and we've got older design Jefferson nickel, but it looks like it's in really great shape. So we'll just flip this over and see what we got. And it is a 1986 Denver. This is a really nice looking example. Just thought I'd bring you in because I've got a 2016 here that has something really interesting going on that I've seen in a lot of modern Canadian nickels. Have a look at the beads along the rim, and in some lights, it appears as though it's missing beads. If you were to change your angle or look more closely, you would see all the beads are actually there. So from this angle, it looks like all the beads are there. But if you just turn it a bit, some completely disappear. That's a 2016. I've got a 2019 here that shows the same thing. Look at the beads above at the top. You can see them there. But here it looks like they're gone and just to the left of the date. So I don't know much about what's happening other than other collectors have noticed this. It seems to be some issue at the mint. It's really common. It's not on all of them. If you know anything about it and want to throw a comment in, please share what you've learned with the rest of us. That would be great. Roll number 41, and we're going to have ourselves another Elizabeth Laureate portrait. This is going to be either a 63 or a 64. You can tell because it's got the round edge. This is a 1964, which means we can check it for the extra waterline, and you can actually see it pretty clearly here that it's not, but I'll just throw it under the scope. And there it is. And as I said, it's not. We would see a die crack looking like an extra waterline right across from the log here to or the rock, whatever that is, to over the initials to the edge of the coin. But that's not it. We'll keep looking. Roll number 44, and we have our 16th US nickel. This one is a really nice looking 1998p. Same roll, just a couple of coins back, we have another 1963. Roll number 45, and I just put another 1990 that we found. This is maybe our 5th or 6th under the scope to see what we've got. And it looks like we've got another bare belly variety. So what you can see some horizontal lines here, but the beaver's fur should actually be going downwards like this. So you can see a little bit of bare area here, a little bit of bare area here. This isn't the most clear version. I'm just going to put another one under the scope so you can see what the fur should look like. So the fur should extend all the way to the hind leg and would be clear in here. But that's not what we got in this one. We've got more bare area. So it's the lesser variety, but we found it in our hunt today. We can add it to our book, which is fantastic. We've got extra slots for varieties like this. So I'm really excited. This is wicked. We're on roll number 48, getting down to the wire, and I didn't think we were going to find one, but here we are. I just was going through this roll, and there we have a King George VI. Let's see what we got. And it is a 1940, and it's pretty decent shape, I'd say, for that age of a coin. That's definitely going to fill a spot in the album. Just a few back, and we got a pretty decent 1981 there. That's probably the nicest we found so far. Of course, we're going to go through all of the finds here and pick out the best for the album, but that might be a winner for 81. All right, well, that's the end of the hunt. We finished it. It was a bit of a light box. We did get a Canadian dime, a 2020. We got 18 US nickels. I'll look through my collection and see if any upgrade. This 1986 Denver is probably the best one that we found. We found some laureate portrait. We got a 1960, a 62. We got a few 63s and a 64, not the extra waterline. So we'll fill some of those early 60 spots in the album. Our two best finds, of course, was that 1940 King George VI and the 1990 Bare Belly. Not the best example. It's not the full area bare, but we found it in a hunt and we can add it to the album. Of course, we've got all of these for me to sort through from the 60s in the top corner all the way 70s, 80s, 90s, O's, teens, and our 20s. And we found one 2021. So we'll be able to fill most of the slots in our book with pretty good examples. So I'll pick out the best here. I'll line them up in the album and I'll bring you right back. All right, well, we have added all of our nickels to our brand new album. And just to give you a little sense of what this looks like, it's a fantastic looking album. It's a little bit of an upgrade from what we had. In this album, as I mentioned, there are a couple of pages here that are the Canada 5-cent silver 5-cent pieces. We're not even going to count these because we cannot find those in our hunts. They were just a different size altogether. So in this album, there are 111 slots that are labeled that I would say are potentially doable. Now, these first ones, of course, the King George V ones, are going to be exceptionally hard. I know they're out there. I've seen other coin roll hunters get some of these. I've never gotten them, but I'll keep my fingers crossed that we can. We transferred over 4 nickels from the old album that we had and put them in here. And so what we had was the 1942, as well as that 1952, the chromium plated steel. And the other ones we had were the 59 and the 60. Other than that, we also had found in that hunt, though we didn't have a spot in the album for it, was the 67 Centennial, a really nice one, a nice 1968, and a gorgeous 1971. So I put those on the album, but we didn't add anything else from previous hunts. But what I've done now is added everything that we just got, starting all the way back here with this 1940. And our album is a little bit better rounded out now. So you can see here, we've added, there's the 62. We didn't get a 61, but we've pretty much got everything else. You can see here, we didn't get the 64 extra waterline. I've never found one yet. And we didn't get the low mintage 1970, though you'll recall we got those in a previous hunt. And we have something of every year. One thing I'll note is that there's only a 1977 slot. There's no slot for the high 7 or low 7. So we'll have to use our extra slot for that. We've got really good versions of coins we've got some nice ones from the 80s and 90s, I'll say, but we could definitely upgrade. There are a couple of slots here that we may not fill. The 1999P particularly was issued for testing, and I really don't know if they were actually circulating or if we could ever find one. And you can see there are a couple that were only issued in proof-like sets, the Winnipeg minted 98 and 2000. So I'm not sure if we'll see those, and the 2003 as well. Another omission on here is that there's a spot for the 2006P and the 2006 logo, but there's a third variety, which is the 2006, that has neither the P nor the logo. So we have to use a few of our extra slots for some of these things. And of course, this album ends at 2015. And so we have carried through with our newer coins. I left one open here for the 2017 with the beaver on it. It wasn't a circulating coin, but probably we'll find it at some point in time through sets. So this album is looking particularly good, I'd say, at this point in time. And I'm looking forward to filling this out. We've got a lot of our later slots filled, but we'll be on the lookout for any upgrades. And of course, any of the earlier King George VI or Elizabeth Laureate portraits we need. And certainly, we'd be happy if we got any of these King George V coins. And I just thought I would highlight on this particular page, we've used a few of these extra slots. There's the 2006 that doesn't have the P or the logo. There's also the 1996. There's a near 6 and a far 6. So we've got the near 6 in the album and the far 6 right here. And then, of course, we put the high 7 in one of these slots. I'll take a look and see which one this is. This is the high 7. So the low 7 is actually in the album, the 1977 slot. We might need to fill a few of these extra slots if there's other varieties that we get. If you've enjoyed my video and you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, like the video, and come back often. We've got new content coming out regularly. Hope to see you again. Thank you so much for watching.